Any other questions? You in the back?
Talk about mobile strategy. Can you give me specifics, like what should a company be developing?
Well, I'll tell you what, actually one of the first exercises my students go through in the first week of class is to develop a device plan. And what a device plan is research into what devices are your targeted customers using. And there's several ways to go about developing a device plan. The simplest and cheapest is to just look at your logs of your website and determine what devices are accessing your website. It's the cheapest, it's the quickest, but it's certainly not the most accurate, because what that really tells you is out of the few of your customers who are accessing your website through a mobile device, which ones are they using? And the answers tend to be, I can usually guess the answers. Number one's probably iPhone, number two is probably Android. Those are the two most prevalent platforms for accessing the mobile web today. That doesn't mean that the majority of your customers have iPhones or Androids. So that's a faulty strategy. Another technique you can use is to use demographics and psychographics to sort of guess what your customers are using. You probably have pretty good understandings of your customers' demographics. Where are they located? What age groups do they fall into? And you probably have good understanding of their psychographics. What are their hobbies? What are their interests? What do they like? What do they dislike? What causes do they belong to? Do they support? What causes do they oppose? And there's enough information available if you know how to do the marketing research to determine which phones or devices are most prevalent amongst a particular demographic or psychographic. But in the end, that's just educated guessing. The most accurate way to assess what devices your target market is using is to perform actual market research. That's, however, more time-consuming and more expensive. Often you have to hire an outside firm who has expertise in that to perform the research to determine the answers to that. I've had customers, though, that needed an answer, did not want to put out that sort of money. They were primarily a web-based business. So I said, why don't you simply add to your website, the first page, a survey and ask your customers what they're using. Sure, you're not going to get 100% response, but you should get enough response that you do have a decent indication of what devices are being used. That's just the beginning. That's developing the device plan. That's understanding what sort of devices your customers have. After you understand what sort of devices they have, or at the same time, depending on how you're doing this, you need to determine what are your goals. What are you actually trying to achieve through mobile? Once you have your goals set, you understand your customers' devices. You have to understand your customers' usage. How are they using the devices? When are they using the devices? In what context? Context is really the key to mobile. Context defines how we understand our current situation, our surroundings, our objectives, our goals. It can be as big as our culture or our environment, or as small as what am I doing right now in this classroom? What is my context? It's different than my context on the drive here. It'll be different in my context a couple hours from now when I'm at home. Understanding the context in which your users are using the devices, the goals, your business goals that you're trying to achieve, and the devices they're using is really the cornerstones, the 3 points of really your pyramid of your mobile strategy. Does that answer your question? Mobile strategy is huge. I highly recommend you take the class and learn a lot more about it, but that's pretty much in a nutshell.